It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman, and this show is brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com, get an autographed copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. Or if you think your wife is cheating on you, your boyfriend, your girlfriend's cheating on you, you send us their email address. We trace it back to online dating websites and catch them cheating online. Of course, all kinds of stuff, too, like locates and background reports, any kind of stuff you might need from a private investigator at emailrevealer.com. Okay. I have a guest for you today that whether or not you think you know him, everybody knows this guy. Everybody on the face of the earth knows this guy. Okay, his name is Scotty Schwartz. He was a child actor and one of the most iconic child actors in the history of child acting. Scott Schultz, are you there?
I am here.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell us about yourself. Who is Scott Schultz?
Who is Scott Schwartz? Well, how do I start that? I was a kid actor from New Jersey. I got a couple of movies, The Toy with Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason, and I got Christmas Story, and I was a regular kid. I bowled out a 175 average. I could shoot hoops. I could play baseball, and Hollywood came calling.
Hey, so when you were in The Toy, how old were you?
13, 14. I had my birthday while we were shooting. It was phenomenal.
Oh, really? Okay, then you were old enough to appreciate what was going on.
Oh, sure. I knew who Richard Pryor was. I knew who Jackie Gleason was. I know who Richard Donner was. I knew who Ray Stark was. Ned Beatty. We had an incredible Tony Burton, who he's only in one scene where Richard is in the little gymnasium thing toward the beginning. But he played Duke, Apollo Creed's manager in Rocky. I mean, of course I know who he was.
Okay.
So I have a pretty extensive film background, even as a youngster. My dad loved film, so I love film, and so that was before Hollywood came calling.
Okay, but in the film, though, in The Toy, you were supposed to portray a child that was much younger than 13, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, they don't really say. I think I was supposed to be around 10 or 11, something like that. Listen, I was always short. I was always small. I did an off-Broadway show. I was 11. They told everybody when they did the press stuff that I was 8, and I was playing 6.
Okay, right. And what came first, The Toy or the Christmas Story?
No, The Toy was the first film I got. Then I did a film for 20th Century Fox called Kidco, and then I did Christmas Story after that.
Okay, now back to The Toy. Richard Pryor, that must have been like, I read in your IMDb that he had a big effect on your life.
From the first day I met him. He was my friend, my muse, my go-to guy, probably one of the most just incredible human beings I've ever met, the most selfless person I've ever met. It wasn't about him. It was about what joy or smile or information or something else that he could give you to help you advance your life and become a smarter person and a more intelligent person. Just a never-ending flow of information came from him.
Yeah, you get that impression with Richard Pryor. A brilliant genius, of course. I've become friends with his son, Richard Pryor Jr. Did you get a chance to meet him on the set?
I don't think I actually met Junior on the set. I'm pretty sure I met Rain, his daughter.
Right.
And it was another daughter that came and visited the set. And Rain and I have been friends for decades. And Junior and I, we talk to each other on Facebook once in a while and say hi and stuff like that. But just not... There were two Richards. I mean, he had the drug phase that he went through and him burning himself up. And then he became a different person. He became, from what I've gathered from everybody, he really wanted to be a different person. He wanted to be somebody who was giving and caring and loving and sharing. And all the wonderful qualities that most people want to be, but he was.
And what was the timeline there in the period when you were doing the film with him? Was that his drug period or after?
No, I was after. We shot after, So I got the greatest version of him ever.
Okay, great. That's great. And then did you stay in touch with him over the years? I
was friends with him from the day I met him until the day he passed.
Wow, man! What a life, man!
Listen, there was only a small window. He had closed his production company. He had moved. His number in Hawaii changed. I had his house numbers. I had his office number. I had the Hawaii house number. And they went through a changeover period, and I was still in New Jersey. And, of course, back then there's no email, no texting, none of that stuff. We didn't have cell phones, really. And I came out to California, and I probably hadn't talked to him in about a year and a half or so. And the way I say it is I put out an APB on Richard Pryor. Anybody sees Richard, you got to call me. And one of the guys that worked at the Comedy Store at the time called me one night and said, "Hey, Richard just got here. He's in the original room." And I said, "Okay, I'll be right there." And within like 17 minutes, I was there, and he was still there. And he was back by the booth where, you came in the entranceway. And he was sort of in a little bit toward the back. So it was dark, and, he didn't really want people to come over and, "Oh, my God, it's Richard Pryor," and all that stuff. And actually walked next to him, and he had no idea it was me. And the comedian that was up there finished and whatever, and I kind of nudged him, and I said, "You know what, man, they'll just let you in anywhere, won't they?" And he looked down, and that was it. He smiled and gave me a hug and a kiss, and we ended up going out to dinner after that night at Mel's Diner on Sunset and spent 3 hours yapping until the early morning, and then I went to his house, and we kept talking.
Yeah, sure. Because for him, see, now you're his age. You know what I mean? Now you know what I mean? And when you see a kid like that, you meet a kid when he's a little kid and he's all grown up. It's like that's a big deal.
I was, we shot the film when I was 14, and now we're talking about, I was 17 and driving. And,
right.
Not fully what you would consider an adult age-wise, but mentally, I had done enough things and gone enough places, and I knew how to handle myself. And so now we were speaking on different levels. It was just an incredible time.
Hey, now what about? Wasn't there some issues with Richard Pryor with like one of his wives or ex-wives or something like that, kind of manipulating or controlling him? You know anything about that?
Controlling him?
Yeah.
Not at that time.
Okay.
Not at that time. I mean, listen. Toward the end, the last couple of years. The MS really kicked in, and his wife Jennifer took charge of everything. He had to have rehab, and he had to have nurses and doctors, and all of the things that somebody has when they go through MS. And the last few years, there was no communication, no movement. Except his eyes, basically, because that's what MS does. It affects every muscle in the body other than the brain. So he basically became a prisoner in his own body, which is very, very sad. I mean, it was heart-wrenching to go and see him and talk to him, and he couldn't reply. He couldn't respond. Every so often you got a little glimmer of a smile, and he'd look at you, blink his eyes and stuff. So he knew you were there, but there was no response.
Oh, boy, yeah, that must have been tough, huh?
Yeah. I went there knowing what I was getting myself into, and at the same time, I knew what the man had done for me in my life, how he changed my life, how he improved my life, how he impacted my life. And if it was a half an hour visit or an hour visit, to give him and show him some love and some kindness, it's the smallest thing I could do.
Yeah, you got to show your respect, especially now with A Christmas Story. You were saying off the air because you got these events coming up. You got WinterCon coming up in Jamaica, Queens. That's this weekend, right? Saturday.
Yes, Saturday and Sunday out in Jamaica. It's New York WinterCon. It's in Jamaica here. I'm going to... it is at the... Oh, I got to bring it up. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, they're having a Blade Runner reunion. It's at the Resort World Casino.
Resort?
That's the official title of it and where it is. But yeah, it's out, I believe, in Queens, yeah.
And then
they've got Rutger Hauer and Joanna Cassidy and Sean Young from Blade Runner, Gil Gerard from Buck Rogers and Felix Silva, Barbara Luna from Star Trek, and, Kathy Najimy from Sister Act. So it'll be a fun show.
And then you got another one at Steel City and Comic-Con coming up in Pittsburgh?
Steel City Comic-Con in Pittsburgh. That one, it's at the, I got to always pronounce the town right, the Mooresville Convention Center. Monroeville, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And it's got Richard Dreyfuss and the Phillips twins from Harry Potter, Seth Gilliam. There's a Brent Spiner, who I love to death. Great guy from Star Trek, and Jonathan Frakes. LeVar Burton, Diamond Dallas Page from WWE and WCW. Tom Wilson, Biff from Back to the Future. Barbara Hershey, Steven Weber. It's a packed show.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And that's in Monroeville.
How much would that cost?
PA.
How much would it cost to get into something like that?
I think it's around $20, $25, $25. I think it's something like that.
And then you have events too. What goes on when you get there?
It's basically a large meet and greet for us. People come up, they want to talk, they want to take a picture, get an autograph. But there's always vendors. People can find stuff there, Christmas presents, whatever, birthday gifts. There's always merchandise up the wazoo, as I say.
Right. Now, and you say, this time of year, because you were in the iconic movie A Christmas Story. You play the younger brother, right?
No, I played Flick, who got his tongue stuck to the pole.
Yeah, I know you got your tongue stuck to the pole. That's obvious. Okay, that's, but what, you weren't Peter Billingsley's younger brother?
No, that's Randy. His name is Ian Petrella.
Okay, then who was Flick then?
I'm one of the friends. I'm his friend.
Oh, just one of the friends. Okay, yeah, and so iconically, you stuck your tongue, and everybody knows the scene. Everybody in the world, people must come up to you about this all the time, right?
I do get it quite a bit. Not every single day, but yes.
Is there anybody on earth that doesn't know that scene?
You know what? There are people who've never seen the movie. There are people who just say, you know what, I saw it a couple times and it's just not for me. I don't, they don't get it or they don't understand it, which is fine. I mean, that's, I don't take it as a dig or anything else. Everybody has their own taste. There are people that love, gory horror movies. I did as a teenager. Now I'm past that stage, There are people who love sci-fi. There are people that don't like Star Wars. There are people that don't like Avengers. That's everybody's God-given will to say, you know what, that's just not my cup of tea. It's okay.
Yeah, but like even that scene, I've seen it on the news. Like they've showed a clip of that movie. And by the way, that's always like the clip from the movie that they always show, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I tell you, man. But there's got to be 100 million people that have seen that scene.
Well, I'd probably more than that at this point. I mean, it's seen by over 50 million homes. Something between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Yeah, I watch it every year. So then, what was it like growing up as a teenager in Hollywood?
I would have absolutely no idea because I didn't grow up in Hollywood. I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay, so
so I didn't move out to California until I was past high school already. I had a pretty normal, I guess you would call it, upbringing in a nice suburban house in central New Jersey, Bridgewater, New Jersey. I say hello to all my Bridgewater Raritan High School West peeps that I went to school with. And they kept me pretty level-headed and pretty grounded. And I had a good core group of friends, and I'm still friends with them to this day.
When you were living in Jersey, were there any problems with teasing or stuff like that? Kids busting your chops because you were the toy?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I got, see, there's a great word, teasing. Teasing has now become bullying.
Right.
You see, the word teasing has kind of gone out the window because of the politically correct nonsense. But I got bullied. I got shoved. I got pushed into lockers, thrown in garbage containers. From one specific guy in particular who, if he was in jail, I probably would pay the other guys to beat the hell out of him. But, he kicked my ass from, probably 7th grade on, when I was there. But, I faced it and dealt with it and didn't run home to mama. I kind of stood on my own, and I had a lot of friends that stood beside me, and they weren't there because I was the movie star. They were there because they were my friends. I knew most of them since between 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th grade, and the movies came later. So, they were genuine friends, as they still are, but, there were kids, absolutely, that tore me a new behind because I was on TV. I was on commercials, and then I did Broadway and all this stuff, and they had their own insecurities and their own jealousy things, and they took it out on me.
Yeah, but I guess those same guys, they were probably abusing some other kids too as well, because they got their own issues that cause them to act out in those kind of ways.
Probably.
Yeah,
I just have no idea. I mean, I can just tell you that, while I had a wonderful childhood overall, there were the few things that took place. But, I had a good core group, and I had fun. I mean, I played basketball, baseball, bowling, baseball, basketball, football, bowling. Those were my sports. I've never been a good tennis player. I took up golf later. But, it rounded me as a child to be able to communicate, be able to play on a team, be able to do things with people. And, I just, somehow I fought my way through it.
Yeah. And now, when you're on the East Coast, were you still involved in acting, plays and stuff like that, commercials?
Sure. I did over 100 commercials. I did Broadway, off-Broadway. The movies that I got were all cast out of New York. My agent, Carson Adler, love them. They're still they're still in business on 57th Street. They were wonderful, 2 wonderful women who were my agents, Marion Adler and Nancy Carson, and they're just wonderful people. I still talk to Nancy. Unfortunately, Marion has passed on. God rest her soul. But I had good people around me, and, it's not too hard to work with somebody when they do the right thing and you do the right thing. I was a crazy kid. I loved to play, jump, run, do all the crazy stuff the kids did, but I didn't do stupid stuff. I never got into trouble. I never got arrested. I never drugs, booze, none of that stuff. I just like to smile and have fun.
What about your parents? Were they like supportive, or would you consider them to be like a stage parents type of thing? You hear about that stereotype?
Not really. My parents were not stage parents, so to speak. My mom worked regular jobs. She worked at AT&T and beneficial insurance. My dad owned his own business. He was a janitorial, window cleaning, floor waxing business. My dad always loved show business, introduced me to movies, took me to, movie clubs as a kid. My dad's little touch of fame was he was the company clerk in the army in Germany for this guy in 1958 to 1960. I'm sure you've heard of him. His name was Elvis Presley.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Get out of here. Your dad was...
So my dad was the company clerk, and Elvis saw him every day, and he'd come up, "How you doing, Danny? Can I get my pass?"
How cool
and
is
my
that?
dad would write his pass out and go to lieutenant. They'd sign off. "Thanks a lot, Danny. Have a good one." And he'd walk out the door.
How cool is that, man?
Yeah.
And
my dad played touch. My dad played touch football at his house on Sundays. He put out a spread for everybody. My dad said he was just a very gracious, good guy. That was my dad's sort of touch of Hollywood. But I'll sort of finish where I was going with that.
Sorry.
I mean, me being in show business wasn't something that he pursued, he wanted me to do. It just sort of happened. And he said, hey, you want to do this? Sure, we can do this, no problem. And we did it. And, you know, I was a pretty independent kid, you know, even at 10, 11, 12 years old, you know, outside of him driving me to where I needed to go for an audition, the rest was up to me. I did the readings, I did the studying of the lines and all that stuff. And, you know, so they were, but they weren't. They had their own businesses, they had their own lives, but much more my father encompassed his life. If I needed to go somewhere, it got taken care of.
So then these stories you hear about the child actors, they're pissed off at their parents because their parents stole their money and stuff like that. Nothing like that.
No, not really. You know, everybody's parents are different. You know, you can't formate today's thinking with what went on 30-something years ago. The money was different. You know, I mean, when I was doing the toy, I was making $1,750 a week.
Right.
You know, as a co-star of a film. If I did that same movie today, it's $150,000 or $200,000 payday. You know, much different things. So, unless you were on television like, you know, Gary Coleman making $75,000, $100,000 a week, whatever, because he was the star of a show on NBC and all that stuff, my parents never gave up their working lives to take care of me. They never did that. And
Gotcha.
there are some that do, there's no question. You know, there have been parents that have been accused of taking their kids' money. Some were proven, like in Gary Coleman's case. And then there's been other child star, and I don't ever mention his name now. He accused his mother and father of stealing his money. It just wasn't true. You know, so there's just sort of a fine line that you have to kind of toe. And if you know what's going on, you know the situation, you can sort of, you know, come up with your own conclusions to what went on.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, what, do you still see any money from those repeats from all those things, those movies, anything? Anything?
It's a fun, great question.
Yeah.
It really is. This has nothing to do with the fact that I was a kid actor. Nothing. There was an agreement with Screen Actors Guild that was done in like 1980, 81, somewhere in there, when cable was first really starting to explode. And what they did is they said, if you show a movie on the same channel within a 24-hour period more than once, whether it's on once, twice, 4 times, whatever it is, because it's on the same channel, you only get paid for one showing. So when you see the 24 Hours of a Christmas Story, I get paid for 2 showings. And it's a sliding scale, and because it's been shown so many times, the realistic number is when they show it, I get about $1.60.
Well, that's not bad.
For the 2 days.
Yeah. Well,
not per showing.
Yeah.
It's for the 2 days. I get like 80 cents a day, and they show it however many times, and I end up with $1.60.
Well, but isn't it on so many stations though? Like, you know, no, it's everywhere.
No, it's just on TV. Well, Turner owns it, so it would be a Turner-owned station.
Gotcha.
Realistically, you know, when TBS does it, they might show it once or twice someplace else, but it's normally a cable station of, you know, Turner's owning, and cable residuals are different than network residuals.
Okay. I was hoping maybe you got, you know, because when you think 100 million times that thing's played, man, just 10 cents.
Listen, I wish it was more than that too. Trust me,
I know.
Love it. You know, I would love to see a check for a couple $1,000 for the marathon, but it's $1.60.
And they're making good money off it too. You know what I mean? It's not like it's any expense to them to put that back on.
According to Warner Brothers, and this was a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they actually made a statement that said A Christmas Story is the #1 most profitable film that they've ever owned, because they bought it. They had no expenses to make the film. The film was made by MGM, and then Ted Turner bought it as part of the package that he bought from MGM. He spent $250,000 to buy the movie.
Wow. What an investment.
So, exactly.
And you've done a couple of projects after that, though, like some projects related to Christmas Story. They were your own projects, right?
We did a thing called The Untold Christmas Story. It's
Right.
kind of a behind-the-scenes DVD that the cast members, we all did, just to own something and have something that we sell. When I go to the appearances, I bring some with me,
Okay, great.
Yeah, if we ever got, monstrous distribution, it would be beautiful, but we never have. So it's like, it's okay. We did it. We had fun doing it. We made a few bucks, nothing major consequence, but it's something that we did.
And can people get that on Amazon?
I don't know if Amazon has it anymore. They
Okay.
might have it.
Okay. But otherwise, they come down, they see in person over there at the WinterCon or the Steel City Comic-Con, and you get an autograph copy. You give them, right?
Sure,
There you
I
go.
autograph them,
All right, great. Oh, boy. Okay. And now what about, did you ever have any plans besides acting? You want to do something with a different kind of career? When you were youngster, high school?
I was never, realistically, I was a sports guy, and due to the fact that I say I had no chance because my father's all of 5'4", my mom's 4'9.5", so the NBA was never going to be calling. That was just not in my future, Major League Baseball, not in my future. I love sports. I excelled at sports, but due to the different career as far as movies, I couldn't be on the baseball team at school or the basketball team or the bowling team because I missed too many practices because I had a career already. I was going to auditions. So if I wasn't, I'd probably go into sports casting or something like that because of my love of that, or film. And I don't mean as far as acting-wise, just doing other things in and around the film industry because I loved it as a kid. If you said to me today, if you couldn't be an actor, what would you want to be? Just put me as a talk show host, or some kind of a TV talk something, and I would excel at it.
I tell you, talk show hosts, you meet the most interesting people in the whole world. It's a real blessing, man. It's very rewarding.
Listen, I say this and at some point I want to be on the Tucker Carlson show and the Hannity show and talk to those guys because I just think that they're terrific.
Oh, so you're a right-wing guy.
If you want to call it that.
Okay. Did you vote for Trump?
Of course.
Okay, great. Okay, President Mr. Trump.
Listen, I'm a logical person. I'm an up the middle guy that always looks at both sides of the coin when it comes down to the end of the day.
Oh, right.
And I go, okay, this person has this and these flaws. This person has this and has these flaws. And you have to come up with what you feel is the better decision. And, my thing was, you can call our president whatever you want to call him, misogynistic, racist, this, that. There's nothing that's really ever been there to do that. It's just more baloney. We know what the things that he said, and okay, fine, but that does not disqualify you from running our country, and he's a businessman. And then we had the other side of the coin, and I'm just a believer, and this is just my opinion. If the FBI has you on speed dial, you don't belong being the president.
Well, listen,
that's just the way I looked at it.
You're not going to get any endorsement of Hillary out of me, I'll tell you that. Or the Clinton crime family whatsoever. I'm not going.
I mean, listen, it's long documented, and I can't go with somebody's message to become president that I'm going to be the first woman and he's an ass. That is not a message that resonates with me. I want to know what you're going to do foreign policy. I want to know what you're going to do for the economy. If you can't give me those things, and we have terrorism and all that, you can't give me some key things, what are you doing there? You can't just run on I'm a woman. And I love women. So I'm not saying I wouldn't vote for a woman. I'm just saying that's not a policy.
Yeah, if you look into the Clinton Foundation alone and how they stole money from Haiti, they stole money from earthquake victims in Haiti, and
listen, again, I don't want this to become a political thing.
Yeah.
But
how do you get around that? Yeah. How do you get around that?
Just people want it. People have to look at it and want to know the information is there and what went on. Most people, they see it, and they don't want to know about it, so they turn the other way. And that's unfortunate, but that's the country we live in, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that's okay. I don't dislike anybody. I don't hate anybody. I live now, outside of Southern California, and I get hit with it every single day, and people, how can you? And I'm like, I talk to people who have money, and they have money in real estate, and they have money in the stock market, and I say to them, okay, so he made a joke about Elizabeth Warren. Now, what was that stock that you had that went up 40% so far this year, and he's just put another one of your descendants through college? Just tell me why he's such a bad guy again, and it makes no sense.
This will be a good time to take a commercial break. We'll come back and we'll change gears and get back to your showbiz career. We're with Scott.
You got it.
Scott Schwartz. Scott Schwartz, man. Fascinating guy. Christmas Story, Toy Story. He's done all this other work too. We'll be right back with more of Scott Schwartz right after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Archival Revival, the Christian Film Archive, is currently paying for vintage Christian films. They are dedicated to preserving and restoring classic Christian films and media. So if you have original prints, negatives, or other film elements of classic Christian films, or you have audio recording masters for classic Christian record albums, they want to buy them from you. So email archival.revival@gmail.com and they're going to make you an offer. Archival Revival wants to preserve these classic Christian films so that they continue saving people for years. These films have brought people to salvation. They want to continue that. Their staff has decades of experience in handling and preserving of film elements, utilize the very best climate-controlled film storage facilities around the world. Contact them today at archival.revival@gmail.com. If there's someone you know has these prints, negatives, recording masters, or other materials from vintage Christian films, you can check out their blog at archivalrevival.blogspot.com. Now, just so you understand, Archival Revival wants to pay you for these films. So you can look in your church attic, in the church basement. If you have a friend who runs a Christian youth ministry, these youth vacation Bible study camp, they have these old films in those big metal containers, 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter. Archival Revival wants to buy them from you. So this is a sponsor that actually wants to give you money. And all you have to do is contact them, tell them what you have. If you're in the UK or Ireland or Africa, these films are all over the world and they're gathering dust and they're going to deteriorate if they don't get into the hands of Archival Revival. So that's archival.revival@gmail.com, or the blog spot is archivalrevival.blogspot.com. Don't forget, this show is brought to you by pscoco.com. Phoebe Sod is an independent curator with the Cocoa Exchange. The Cocoa Exchange is formerly known as Dove Chocolate Discoveries, and they make the finest silky smooth chocolate because the products start with the best cocoa beans, which are tested for quality and flavor by expert technicians. The Cocoa Exchange offers not just premium chocolates, but anything from sauces and spices to brownie and cake mixes, and even coffee and martini mixes. If you wish to treat yourself or someone you love to a sweet and tasty gift, then the Cocoa Exchange is the brand for you. So you go to pscoco.com, you click on the Shop Now button. You can see all their beautiful chocolates. You can order it right now tonight. It could be in your mailbox in a couple of days. Or if you want to get into the chocolate business, you want to be a chocolatier just like Phoebe Sod, click the Contact Us button and you can learn how to get your own website, go into the cocoa chocolate business and sell chocolate and make a little bit of money there. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. But you also do all kinds of different services for you. An online dating service investigation. It's called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites. And we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites. If you think your ex-husband or something is addicted to prescription medication, or involved in an extreme online pornography addiction, we can produce a report for you that you can use in court. Adoption investigations. If you want to locate your birth parents or your birth child you gave away for adoption, we can do adoption investigations for you. asset searches for you. Locate bank accounts, hidden assets, hidden properties, hidden income, all different kinds of services in the asset search investigation. Email tracing. If you need to locate or identify somebody from just an email address, we can do an email trace investigation for you. And all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We have today with us Scott Schultz, and you can catch Scott Schultz coming up this weekend.
Schwartz.
Oh, I keep doing that. Man, I knew it's damn, I'm so sorry.
Schwartz, like F-A-O Schwartz.
I got it written down right in front of me. Schwartz. Scott
may the
Schwartz.
Schwartz be with you.
Scott, I'm so sorry, man. And I knew I was going to keep making that mistake because I had the other word in my head the other day, but it's Scott Schwartz. Schwartz. And he was he was in a toy, and he was also in A Christmas Story. And you can catch him this weekend at WinterCon in Jamaica, Queens, at Resort World Casino. And then the next weekend, the first weekend in December, he'll be at the Steel City Comic Con in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. And Scott, I'm really sorry about that. Hey.
Well, you got it right in the end, and that's all that matters.
Okay, because the other day when I was talking to Judy Haim, and I says, "Yeah, I'm going to have Scott," and I said the other word, and she says, "Who's?" Well, she said, "Well, you should have Scott Schwartz instead." I said, "Okay, maybe I should."
That's right.
Jeez. Well, the other one's an imitation. We got the genuine deal here. So now, okay, you're growing up in New Jersey. There comes a time when you decide to move out on your own to L.A. Is that what happened?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, because we left off the story before we got into the whole Clintons down stealing money from Haitians. Okay, you were graduating high school in New Jersey, but there came a time when you decided to move back to Hollywood, right?
Well, moved to Hollywood, yeah.
Okay. And that was around how old?
Oh, right, 6 months after I graduated high school, between 18 and 19. By
yourself or with your parents?
No, I moved by myself.
Okay, yeah, so did I. I moved out to when I was about 18, 19 years old. Now, okay, so you move out to L.A. all by yourself, and you're making money because you getting acting work out there?
I got a little bit of work. It took me a little bit of time to get my feet wet out here. But, I did some work. I got a couple little spots on episodics on TV shows, and I did a couple movies with Frank Stallone and other people. Of course, Kay Lenz was called Honor Betrayed, and Clifton Young, and then I did another film called The Garbage Man, which has never seen the light of day, which was hilarious. I played a gay bodybuilder. It was great.
Now, what about, did you have regular jobs too, like a waiter, that kind of stuff?
Oh, I did just about everything.
Okay.
God, I worked in a sports card store for a while, and a little bit of production work for different kinds of productions. I just kept busy, just trying to do something.
Yeah, you got to hustle. And when you're a young kid, you can hustle 24 hours a day, right? And get out there and, you got to bust your ass. Now, is this when you started hanging out? What about this period of your life? Did you get into drugs and alcohol around this time? Must have went wild a little bit, right?
No, the only time that you could consider a period, I was a junior in high school. I was going to school in New York, and I smoked pot for 3 months. That was it.
That's it, huh? Okay.
That was it.
Now,
that was never my thing.
And this is when you started hanging out with these young stars like Corey Haim and all these guys like that?
Sure. When I came out to California, I was staying with Alyssa Milano and her family because we were friends from New York. Her and I did hundreds of auditions together. So when we were in auditions, her mom and my dad sitting there, you got nothing to do, you just chit-chat. So they became friendly, and they offered, they had an extra room in their house, and they said, yeah, you want to come for a while and get your feet wet? Sure, and I was there for about 8 months. And she was down the hall for me every day, and I was on the set of Who's the Boss, and then Married with Children was next door, and, all that. But then, of course, you're there, so you start seeing all the other gang. Corey Haim, who I had worked with already before that, and Scott Grimes and Brian Bloom and Kirk Cameron and Alfonso Ribeiro and Schroeder and the whole gang.
And there was a place called the Soda Shop you guys used to hang out at?
It was called Alfie Soda Pop Parties. That's what they were called. They were sponsored by Randy Miller of New York Seltzer, that you can find in stores even today. They're still out there. And it was just a place for kids in Hollywood who were, professional kids in show business to go and hang out. It wasn't a photo op thing. It wasn't a fan thing. It was just a place for us all to go and hang out with our peers, as opposed to being attacked by fans or people coming up, hey, blah, blah, blah. So it was Christina Applegate and David Faustino and myself and everybody else I mentioned, and Martika, the singer. There were 50, 60 kids, and we would hang out in a big ballroom at the Roosevelt, the whole Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. They just rented a room, and we had this party, and we hung out. There were parents there. There was supervision. There was no booze, no drugs, none of that. It was all, pop drinks, soda drinks, and we would sing and dance and have contests and lip sync contests and karaoke contests and, just a place for the kids in the business to go and have fun without being harassed.
So it was like a teen, an all-age club, they call it, right? But no alcohol, but it was at night. You'd go there at night. Right. It was one of those clubs.
Yeah, no, there were probably a couple of kids that were 9 and 10,
okay.
But they were a little more advanced mentally than most. But they, and then up through, 19, 20. I was 18, 19 when I was there.
Right.
But it was, you're in the business, you're more than welcome.
And there was an admission to get in, and so it was like a business.
No, there was no admission to get in.
Then how
it was a sponsored show because Randy Miller from New York Seltzer, he wanted us to be seen with his products.
Okay.
So he wanted us to be associated with his products. It was not a pay thing. So he sponsored the parties and everybody showed up. And we had a blast.
Okay, the parties every week or every night?
I think it was like around every other week, that sometimes if something was going on and not enough people would go, they'd make it once a month.
Right.
But there were, it wasn't something that was in every week, that I saw that everybody went every week.
Okay, and this is where you became friends with Corey Haim.
I had done a TV movie of the week with Corey Haim the year before that called The Time to Live with Liza Minnelli. Corey Haim played my brother. So we were already friends.
Okay. Now, you hear all these allegations, right? Especially in the past month or so, these GoFundMe accounts, all these kind of things. What can you enlighten us about? What did you see going on back in those days?
Nothing. I saw absolutely nothing. This is where there's this big to-do about, Corey Feldman, I'm saying his name, oh my God, coming out and saying, I was this, I was that, this is what happened, and I'm going, dude, I didn't see this. I was an adult. I wasn't 12 years old, with my head in my behind. I was 19. He claimed that there were men in black that showed up, guys in suits that showed up to look at all the little kids. I didn't see that. He said there were no parents there. Parents were there. Scott Grimes' mom came. Alyssa Milano's mom came. Schroeder's mom. Parents were there. There was supervision. Some of the claims that he made, timelines don't match up. He stated that the guy that who had put his name on the parties had done something to him earlier. Now, I never saw any of that. I never witnessed any of that, so I can't say if something happened, didn't happen. Again, as I stated before, I'm a logical, sensible person. Now, if somebody had touched me in an inappropriate manner, I certainly, a year or a year and a half later, would not be on stage singing and dancing with that same person. That's just me. So this is what he claims happened and went on before the soda pop party started, but then he's singing and dancing with this person on stage. So there's just real questions that come up. Do I think something happened to him? Yes. He's just been talking about it for way too many years, and they've, I know Corey Haim, what went on with him. But there's just a lot of holes and things and lies and accusations that just don't add up. They don't cut the mustard, But I don't question him as far as did somebody do something to him? I've never questioned him on that. I've never said, I don't believe you. That's never happened.
Now, you said you were 19 at the time, and how old were they? Like Corey, the two Coreys, how old were they at the time?
16.
Okay.
I think they're 3 years younger than me, something right around there.
Okay, so then you would be a little bit more aware and have a little bit more experience of what's going on around you, And how about growing up? Did you notice anything shady? Because when I was a kid, at the movie theater, it was well known that if you went up in a balcony, there was some weirdos up there. Did you have that kind of savvy in your life? Those kind of experiences? You knew to watch out for that kind of thing?
No, none of us did.
Okay.
Again, you heard a lot of statements have been made by many, many different people, and they take the knowledge that they have from 30 years later and they put it back when they were 14, 15, 16 years old. This guy was kind of creepy. Okay. But if he was kind of creepy, why'd you go to the parties then? Why did you always go if this guy was creepy? Because it wasn't creepy back then. We just all went and had a good time. There was nothing that went on at those parties. And, I questioned my own memory bank. So I did my homework, and I probably talked to a dozen or so, maybe a few more or less at this point, 12, 14, 13, people that were there at the same time I was. And I said, am I crazy? Do I remember this way? Am I right or am I wrong? And so far, I've not gotten anybody to say, no, dude, this is what happened. You missed all of this. Nobody's done that yet. They've all said, no, you're right on the spot on. That's exactly what happened. Your memory is perfect. And I said, thank you.
Now, out of all these people, have any of them come forward to endorse Corey Feldman's version of events?
Not fully. He's had a couple of friends who are, celebrities, and they have said that we stand with Corey, and yet at the same time we can't back everything that he's saying. So again, sort of like what I said, they're not questioning maybe, something did happen to him. They're not questioning that. But it's the other parts of the story that they have issues with.
And which part is that?
The things I talked about at the soda pop party,
Okay.
This, that, and these other things that nobody else saw. He made a statement that, a guy came out of the bathroom with a kid and this and that. And I'm going, the bathroom's in the hallway. There's parents in the hallway. And nobody else is and I've spoken to the parents. I've spoken to parents of other child stars. And I said, did you ever see this? They're like, no, never saw that. And they were there.
What about...
there's a lot of questions that go into the rest of this story. And unfortunately, this person who now has an Indiegogo fund and this fund, help me, I'm scared my life and blah, blah. This person has been doing this his whole life. Feel sorry for me, my dad stole my money. Feel sorry for me that I did drugs. Feel sorry for me that this happened. And feel sorry for me. And now he's figured out a way with everything that's going on in the entertainment community, with Harvey Weinstein and everybody else, to sort of jump on this and put a dollar amount to it and put a campaign together to raise money for something that everybody is kind of going, I don't get this. You want to make a movie about pedophilia in Hollywood? Who's going to make that? Who's going to distribute it? And he wants to self-fund it and self-make it. And it's just never going to happen. But what he's done, though, is whatever the amount of money that is in there, he gets to keep. It's his money. 9% of it has to come out for the company, Indiegogo, that hosts the thing. and then he's got to pay taxes on the money. But the rest of it, he can do whatever he wants with it, I mean, he said, I'm going to have security. I need 24-hour armed guards. He's not Michael Jackson. Come on, this is ridiculous. It's called ADT. It's $40 a month. Have a nice day. Again, I'm a logical, sensible thinker. It's very simple. You get an alarm pad like everybody else. You push the numbers at night, and that's it.
Now,
but he's run the sympathy gamut to the point of raising hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have gone to the real people in need, children with cancer, pediatrics, whatever it is. You want to put it into kids in Hollywood, put money into, forming a foundation for a lobbyist to change the child labor laws for kids in show business. That's really where it could go to be helpful. Forget homeless, the homeless or food banks. Those are people that really need this money, and he is seeping money that could be donated someplace else.
Well, also too,
I don't believe he's a 501c3 charity. So even if you make a donation to this, I don't think it's tax deductible. You're just giving somebody free money. That's all you're doing.
Well, also too, you've produced. We discussed one. You just produced an independent film about a Christmas story behind the scenes, and you're selling it, right? So, and there's all this attention on this. He could produce a low budget film, documentary or whatever, telling his story, and recoup his funds. It's not like that's impossible.
Again. You're a logical guy. You're logical, okay? You make sense, okay? But this is not what it's about. This is about getting enough money so that he doesn't have to work anymore and doesn't need a job. He's never worked a regular job his whole life.
Let me ask you a question now. Besides this issue, have you had a falling out with Corey Feldman besides this? For other reasons?
I've had many things throughout the years that have gone on. Going all the way back to the 80s, and I'm a forgive and forget kind of person. I always have been. So when we had something happen, a couple of months later, whatever. You forgive and you forget. You move on and you're friends. And I've helped him many times over the years, needed money for his mortgage or his rent or his child support or this and that. I booked him at shows. He was at a Comic-Con in San Antonio. I helped him get the booking. Oh my God, where was the other one? There was another one that he did, and it's just not coming into my head now, but then there was one at the Chiller Theater Convention in New Jersey. Oh, D23, that's what it was. The second one was D23 in Anaheim, California a couple years ago. The Chiller Theater Show in Parsippany, New Jersey, which is every April and October. The promoter did not want him to be there. He just did not want him there, and I said, listen, the guy needs money for his child support. Come on. He was going to be on the East Coast. There was no airfare. It was just a hotel for a couple nights, and the guy agreed because I asked him to do me a favor, as he's a friend of mine. So I was helping Feldman with his child support. And then he basically wanted to not give me a commission on the booking because of something else that I had nothing to do with.
No, I got you. Long story short, you've had minor, those kind of stupid little business things when you're in business with someone for 30 years and you're back and forth. Every deal's a new little negotiation, and you're a little pissed off about this, pissed off about that, but not enough to explode like a volcano, like what's happening right now. Just that kind of stuff, right?
This is why I have been saying what I've been saying, is because he dragged me into this. When they talked about the Alfie Soda Pop parties and we were all there, it was on the Dr. Oz show. They showed this video of us all up on stage, and I happened to be next to this guy, Alfie, who was one of the hosts of the party. And Feldman, said, look at Scotty Schwartz, look at how he looks at Alfie. Maybe he's got secrets. So he's now accusing me of having something secretive that went on there. So he brought me into this.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a tweet. He put out a weird tweet with all kinds of funny typing.
But there's no nothing. Alyssa Milano was down the hallway from me for 8 months. She was my little sister. She was not anybody I had any interest in. in dating or anything. I was 18, she was 14. It was ridiculous, okay? And, I mean, I have cards from her, you know, my big brother, Scotty, love you so much, Alyssa. I have these things. I'd have to find them again if somebody called me on, it's not a bluff, but I'd have to find it. But, you know, it's saying to somebody, I'm not really accusing you of this, but I'm kind of questioning you on this. You know, and there's not one kid in show business or anywhere else that can tell me that I did anything improper. It's just ridiculous.
Let me ask you this. But are they saying you did something improper with Melissa Milano?
No.
Okay.
No, nobody said that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that he just kind of put it out there. You know, what secrets do I have to hide?
Right, I saw that.
And it's like, dude, you can't do that. You're calling somebody out on nothing.
But in the sequence of events, what came first? That tweet from him or that open letter you put out?
I think the open letter that I put out.
Okay.
You know, but again, you know, it wasn't mean-spirited. It wasn't, you know, it was just calling him on the fact that he was taking what's happened to him and he's profiteering from pedophilia.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. He's saying that he was touched inappropriately 30-something years ago, and now all of a sudden he needs money for security because he's going to name names. Now, again, I'm a very logical person, okay? I'm very sensible, logical. If there is somebody that exists... Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I'm on an interview, dude.
Hey, I'll play a commercial.
Oh.
Hey, Scott, I'll play a commercial. Want to play a commercial?
Play a commercial. We'll be right back.
You got 5 minutes. We'll be back with more of Scott Schultz.
Okay.
Schultz. On the Schwartz! We'll be back with Scott Schwartz. I'm so... And now a word from our sponsors. Archival Revival, the Christian Film Archive, is currently paying for vintage Christian films. They are dedicated to preserving and restoring classic Christian films and media. So if you have original prints, negatives, or other film elements of classic Christian films, or you have audio recording masters for classic Christian record albums, they want to buy them from you. So email archival.revival@gmail.com and they're going to make you an offer. Archival Revival wants to preserve these classic Christian films so that they continue saving people for years. These films have brought people to salvation. They want to continue that. Their staff has decades of experience in handling and preserving of film elements, utilize the very best climate-controlled film storage facilities around the world. Contact them today at archival.revival@gmail.com. If there's someone you know has these prints, negatives, recording masters, or other materials from vintage Christian films, you can check out their blog at archivalrevival.blogspot.com. Now, just so you understand, Archival Revival wants to pay you for these films. So you can look in your church attic, in the church basement. If you have a friend who runs a Christian youth ministry, these youth vacation Bible study camp, they have these old films in those big metal containers, 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter. Archival Revival wants to buy them from you. So this is a sponsor that actually wants to give you money. And all you have to do is contact them, tell them what you have. If you're in the UK or Ireland or Africa, these films are all over the world and they're gathering dust and they're going to deteriorate if they don't get into the hands of Archival Revival. So that's archival.revival@gmail.com, or the blog spot is archivalrevival.blogspot.com. Don't forget, this show is brought to you by pscoco.com. Phoebe Sod is an independent curator with the Cocoa Exchange. The Cocoa Exchange is formerly known as Dove Chocolate Discoveries, and they make the finest silky smooth chocolate because the products start with the best cocoa beans, which are tested for quality and flavor by expert technicians. The Cocoa Exchange offers not just premium chocolates, but anything from sauces and spices to brownie and cake mixes, and even coffee and martini mixes. If you wish to treat yourself or someone you love to a sweet and tasty gift, then the Cocoa Exchange is the brand for you. So you go to pscoco.com, you click on the Shop Now button. You can see all their beautiful chocolates. You can order it right now tonight. It could be in your mailbox in a couple of days. Or if you want to get into the chocolate business, you want to be a chocolatier just like Phoebe Sod, click the Contact Us button, and you can learn how to get your own website, go into the cocoa chocolate business, and sell chocolate and make a little bit of money there. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. But we also do all kinds of different services for you. An online dating service investigation. It's called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites. If you think your ex-husband or something is addicted to prescription medication, or involved in an extreme online pornography addiction, we can produce a report for you that you can use in court. Adoption investigations. If you want to locate your birth parents or your birth child you gave away for adoption, we can do adoption investigations for you. Asset searches for you. Locate bank accounts, hidden assets, hidden properties, hidden income, all different kinds of services in the asset search investigation. Email tracing. If you need to locate or identify somebody from just an email address, we can do an email trace investigation for you, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Okay, welcome back to the Opera Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here with Scott Schwartz in the toy and also too in the Christmas Story, and he's involved now in this controversy between Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. Scott, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm having a rough day too, man. Okay, we're both talking off there, but my mold and your pipe's going. Let's back up a little bit here. What can you tell us about the actual friendship and relationship between Haim and Feldman? It's portrayed that they were best friends. Is this accurate?
Well, that's one half of who has said something. The other person isn't here anymore to say anything.
Right.
They were friendly as kids. Once that got out of the late teens, early 20s, it was a friendship based on business relationship. It was because it was beneficial for the two of them to be in a certain place at a certain time, to be photographed together, to be seen together. There was no going to dinners, hanging out, doing things that friends do. That stuff didn't exist. You know, did they talk? Well, yeah, because they had to keep in communication because somebody wanted them to be here for an appearance or do this or do that. And it was strictly more for business than just pals who hang out.
And that could be as simple as something as, hey, show up at this opening, show up at this bar, show up at this nightclub because we want some free publicity tonight by having a picture of you guys, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the friendship that Corey Feldman discusses is a tremendous exaggeration. Tremendous. You know, there was a lot of underlining problems, issues, hatred, what went down. You know, how Corey Haim met his accused, the person that did something to him. I mean, there's all kinds of things that went on, and a lot of it's explained in the Two Coreys. That second season is a very powerful thing. I'm not a reality show lover, but, you know, he went to a place that I don't think anybody of them thought that they were going to go to in the show. So it really exposes the inner feelings on both of their sides.
So you think that scene in the TV show, The Two Coreys, you think that's accurate? That wasn't scripted? It wasn't staged?
No, that was not scripted or staged. That just came out.
Okay.
That just came out.
Okay.
Yeah, which is very sad.
Yeah. And the stuff in Corey's book where he lays out all these clues that go back to the film Lucas. What do you know about that?
It's all BS. It's all baloney. Okay, the person who named Charlie Sheen, you can find his name online. It's not Corey Feldman. It was another actor who was friends with them, who Feldman introduced Haim to.
Right.
He came up with this and said, Corey Haim said to me this, about Charlie Sheen, and that's wrong. That's inaccurate. It's false. It's made up. It's bullshit. It's nonsense. Charlie Sheen did nothing to Corey Haim. Again, you have to look at a lot of moving pieces. But I can tell you, I sat with Corey Haim in his apartment. He lived right above me. We moved into a building together. I lived on 4, and he lived right above me. And he told me who did what when it happened, and it was not Charlie Sheen.
Okay.
That is just a load of caca. Charlie Sheen was like 19, I think, at the time. And since all this stuff came out, I think it's like 3 or 4 girls who were on the set of Lucas all said the same thing. He was chasing me all over the place. Charlie Sheen was trying to, get together with me, blah, blah, etc. Well, if he's trying to mess with 17, 18, 19-year-old women, really? He's then going after a 13-year-old boy? And if you follow his life, I use the technical term. Charlie Sheen's favorite thing in his life is vagina. I will use the technical term. He loves women. That's it.
What has your relationship been with Charlie Sheen?
In passing for, 20 years. When I say in passing, I'd run into him someplace. Hey, how you doing? Oh my God, how you been? Blah blah blah. How's your family? This is great. Tell your dad. I've met his father. I've met his brother. I've met his uncle. I've met all of them. But he and I, it was always in passing. And actually, when all of this came out, I hadn't talked to him. There's no, I'm getting paid to say this stuff. I wish I was. I could go. I could take a day off. But through a friend, he actually reached out to me to say thank you. I appreciate you saying what you said. And I said, dude, Haim told me what happened. That's the truth. The rest of it, it's where it comes from. It's baloney.
What was his relationship like with Sheen after the filming of that movie?
Oh, they ran into each other at celebrity, driven stuff, be it a red carpet or a softball game or whatever. They were friendly. They hugged. There's just pictures of it on the internet of them hugging on a softball field. Again, if this is the guy that touched you, are you going to be smiling and hugging him? I don't think so.
And what about Feldman and Sheen?
Have no idea.
No idea. Because wasn't
I don't think that they're friends. I've never heard that. So,
but they were dating the same girl back and forth. No, Amber Lynn.
That's probably a question you'd have to ask Amber.
Okay.
I would have no idea.
Okay.
But that's funny. That's hysterical.
Okay.
I don't think it was her. There was another adult film star. It could have been. But when you use the term dating,
right.
That actually means that you see somebody on a regular basis, you talk to them on a regular basis for however long it is. I don't exactly think Corey was dating this person. They may have had a get-together maybe once or twice. I pretty much know once for sure because I drove him there. The second time, third, I would have no idea after that. But that person did actually date Charlie, but I'm pretty sure it was later.
And you were in the adult business, too. What was your role in pornography? You had a little thing going on there, too, right?
I produced, directed, ran a production company, worked for one of the agents. It paid my bills, put a roof over my head and food on my table.
Yeah, because I think the last time I saw you in the news, that's what it was about, is that the kid from the pole, went into porn. But are you doing
that's already 20 years ago.
Oh, 20 years
21
ago?
21 years ago.
Really? I tell you, man.
Yeah.
Time flies.
And I'm been for a long time, decades, I've been out of the business, so to speak. Do I have friends that, that I still have that were in the business, yes. But, outside of that, haven't had anything to do with the industry in 20 years, 17 years.
Gotcha. And how do you make a full-time living now with the appearances?
I do appearances. I rep celebrities for autograph shows, memorabilia signings. Somebody wants somebody for a motivational speaking. That's one of the things I do. I help my dad at his store, a little bit here and there. I do eBay. I buy and sell collectibles of all kinds. I stay busy.
Now, the name that Corey Haim gave you is the name that's out in the public, the one that everybody's... I think the guy's convicted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we don't want to say his name? Or... No? There's no conviction?
No conviction.
Okay.
Corey Feldman is a guy named Marty Weiss.
Right.
He's a convicted person. A guy named Bob Villard, who was a photographer, he's convicted. Then there's another guy, John Grissom, who is off the radar. He's off the map. Nobody knows any idea where this guy is. He has disappeared. But then again, I hadn't even heard his name in 20 years or longer.
But that's not the name that Corey Haim gave you. None of those three names.
No.
Okay. All right. Those are the three names that Haim is. No. I mean, and Feldman. Now, does Feldman claim that he was molested by the same guy who molested the other guy who molested Haim?
I have no idea.
You don't know about that either? Okay. All right.
I don't know who. Nobody knows who Feldman was supposedly touched by. He's never just come out and this person did this. No, he's, this person did this over here and this, that over there. But he's never come out and said, this is the person. He has been saying for years, it's somebody of great importance in the industry and could take down a studio and all this stuff is what he said.
Right.
Now, again, you think logically and sensibly, if it is somebody of that caliber, that means they got a lot of money, okay? What that means is their lawyer picks up the phone and calls Feldman's lawyer and says, listen, we need this to go away. And how much is it going to take to go away? Is it going to be $3 million, $5 million, $8 million? Tell me what the number is. We'll cut the check and end of story, and it all goes away, and you'll never hear about it again. If this person is supposedly who Corey Feldman has said he is, he's monstrous, he's big in the industry, okay. This guy would never let any of this stuff come to light. He'd quietly do a settlement, write a check, whatever it is, and that'd be the end of it.
Yeah, especially at this point when he's come forward with a figure that he's looking for. He's looking for $10 million. You know what I mean?
Of course. He put the figure out there.
Right. And it's not hard to get a hold of Feldman.
Again, we can't think like us. We have to think like somebody who is probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars if you go by the description that he's laid out there. And if the person is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if it costs, it's like me and you buying a cup of coffee to get rid of something that could end their life, end their career, is what's it worth? It's worth whatever it's going to cost. Here, no problem, dude. Here, take the money, shut up, and it never gets discussed again. Full non-disclosures, full no nothing, and it all goes away.
Now, these three names that he has mentioned, have you ever met any of these guys? Were they
talking about the three guys I mentioned?
Yeah, the three guys who Feldman says molested him. Weiss?
Well, he hasn't said molested him. They just said have molested children.
Right.
Let me think. If I met Bob Villard, it was in passing at one of the, events that we did or whatever it was. Could have been at the soda pop parties. I don't remember. You're talking 30 years ago.
Right.
So if he was there, I don't remember. The other two guys I have met, absolutely.
Okay. And
neither one of them did try to do anything with me, wanted to do anything, nothing like that ever remotely took place.
And what was your impression of them, though? Did they come off the kind of guys who could do this, or you were uncomfortable around them?
Again, I was 19 years old.
Okay.
Nobody thought like that 30 years ago. Nobody. They were guys. They came, they hung out, they laughed, they joked. again, we're taking the knowledge of 30 years later and trying to put it back there, and you can't do it. It's an impossibility. We didn't think like that 30 years ago. None of us did. None of us. There's not one person that you can tell you, and I don't know how old you are, but if you said at 17 years old or 18 years old, did you think like this? No, of course not.
I'm older than you. I'm 55 years old. And I could tell you instances.
You're a few days older than me.
Yeah, I know. And I could tell you, I can remember my childhood. One time at a Catholic school, I changed schools to another school, and there was this priest who was acting so inappropriate. I spotted this. You're right. It wasn't in the news. It wasn't talked about like that. But I knew something was wrong. I knew something right away. I said, whoa, something's wrong here. Like you never had that kind of feeling.
No.
Okay.
Again,
yeah.
They didn't do anything in public or a public display or something out there where I went, that's just not that's not even a person I want to talk to. I talked to both of them. I talked to John and I talked to Marty, and again, maybe because I was older, they never would even try anything with me because, maybe I was too old for them. I don't know.
All right. Well, how about now? Now that you're talking to these people again, does anybody else confirm these stories about these three guys?
Well, two of them are convicted, so,
right.
It's like, yeah.
But like the 12, 14 people you said you talked about these allegations, have you been in touch with them? Do they have any stories about these characters?
Again, they all said pretty much what I've said. We can't take the knowledge today and go back 30 years.
Right.
They'd say, yeah, he was kind of an offbeat guy, but, I didn't see anything really wrong. Maybe he was a little strange, maybe if you want to use that word, but they didn't say, oh, he did this or he did that. That made me feel this way. One of them, he was a manager of talent, of kids' stars, and he would have parties at his house, and parents could come if they wanted to, and he'd have guys dress up like the different Disney characters and all this stuff, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever it was, and he had kids parties. He was a kids manager, so all the kids would be there, not just one or two. It would be 15 or 20 or 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever it was. And no parents that went there said, oh, I think he's really weird. I got to pull my kid out of here. So even those people that spent more time with him than I did, they didn't think that way.
So besides Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, because both of them have come to you and told you that they were molested, right? Haim told you for sure,
mm-hmm.
and Feldman told you for sure, right?
Well, he told everybody. He didn't tell me specifically. So
besides those two, have any of your friends from that time come to you and confessed anything to you? Or shared
there's others that have come out, like Allison Ingram and a few of the other people, but, nobody has just come and called me and said, hey, I need to tell you this because. Nobody's done that yet.
And you've had a lot of conversations with Judy Haim, Corey's mother.
Corey Haim's mom, yeah.
Right, Corey Haim's mom. And so you two have compared notes and things like that, and you're both in agreement on all this?
Of course. We were both there.
Okay.
I love Judy. She's a wonderful woman. She's like a second mom. Since the day I met her, she wasn't an alcoholic. She wasn't a drug addict. The furthest thing from it. That was just not her. It's not even the comparing of notes. It's just sitting down saying, okay, this is what he said to me. This is what he said to me. Okay. And you go back and forth and, you just know that you call BS BS, and the amount of water that's under the bridge, that the bridge is flooded as far as, what Feldman has done to Judy Haim and continued to drag his name into this, over the years after being asked many times, it's enough. If you got your issues, discuss your issues. Corey Haim is no longer here to say anything or tell his side. Or say anything at this point. So why don't you just pay attention to you and your issues and your problems? he came out with the book, and it's Corey Haim this and Corey Haim that. It's like, oh my God, dude, whose book is this? Why are you doing this? You know, Judy has gone through cancer. She's had other health issues, and she's nicely asked him and then not nicely asked him over the years because, you know, this is a situation. These two guys were connected at the hip because of show business. You know, otherwise they probably never would have been connected at the hip. And, you know, the friendship thing,
right?
You know, it's definitely been, I don't want to use the word exploited, but it's been exaggerated tremendously, you know, by Feldman. You know, there's other stories that, you know, I kind of hold close to the vest and they're mine, and when I'm ready to tell them, I'll tell them, but they're on the same par with this stuff. You know, it's just not, they're just not good situations, not good things.
And after Feldman came out with the book, you did confront him about the book?
And what was there to confront? And believe it or not, the book was like 2 weeks from coming out, and he had one of the first copies. And I helped him out. I got him an autograph signing for a trading card company, and I'm sitting in his kitchen, and he hands me the thing, and he says, "Here, this is, you know, brand new, and this coming out." Da da da. And I read like the first 2 paragraphs, and I couldn't even get through, and I put it down. That's all I've read of the book. I didn't have to read anymore. You know, when you start your story, your book, with the day your quote unquote friend died, it's not your book. You know, that's not how things should be.
Okay, we're almost out of time. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to get out?
Not really. I mean, you've been intuitive. There's a lot of good questions. You know, I mean, I don't hate Corey Feldman. I want to get that on the record. I hate him.
Okay.
I hate the fact that he's done what he's done right now to suck money out of people who are generous and kind and giving so that he doesn't have to have a day job. And that's really what this is. This is his money. You know, he's profiteering from pedophilia. And that's just wrong. You know, if he had said, the Indiegogo, I'm going to give 30% of this money to a lobbyist to help change, you know, the state laws or the federal laws for children in show business, I would much more be behind it. But that's not what he did. When you tell me you need lawyer money and security money, I'm going, go get a job like everybody else and work for your money and survive. Put it on the credit card. Do something. Why are you asking people who could be donating that money to somebody else who's really in need? I actually had this conversation before I spoke to you this morning with somebody, and I said, do you realize what we complain about and bitch about and moan about, and yet there are people in the world that don't have food, they don't have clean water, they don't have a toilet? What are we complaining about? You know? But there are things that are more common as far as our existence in the United States and what we care about and what we go for. And people who are giving and kind, give to a real organization that's actually going to help people instead of giving your money to somebody who says, I need money for armed guards at my house, as though he's Michael Jackson. That's the always example I use.
And to make a movie.
That's what he's always done on stage and all the garbage.
Yeah.
You know, the day that you tell me that he's a great singer is the day I'm getting drafted in the NBA. Okay, there you go. I'm 5'2".
Well, no comment on that. But real quick, though, what do you make of that whole relationship with Michael Jackson? And did you ever meet that guy, Majestic Magnificent, that character?
I was very good friends with him. You want a story? Here you go.
Go ahead.
Hey, this is what I'm talking about. You want the expose story? You ask the right question.
Go ahead. Go.
I knew Majestic very well for decades, okay? And Corey, of course, knew him for decades. Majestic had gotten sick. He was in and out of the hospital in Las Vegas. The Jackson family was taking care of his medical expenses, but he needed money for food. And he called me and said, Feldman was here a couple of weeks ago, and he visited me in the hospital, and I was getting ready to get out, and I asked him, you know, if he could float me a little bit of money for some food, He says he would take care of it, went home, and never sent the guy a dime. Never sent this guy a dime who he's been friends with for decades. But Majestic called me and said, hey, this is the situation. I need food money, dude. Can you help me out? You know somebody for decades. No problem. I went over to Walmart. I did the Western Union thing, or whatever they call it there at the Walmart, and sent him $250. Less than a month later, he was gone. He passed away. Okay. And I'm not asking for my $250 back. That wasn't going to happen. I knew that because he told what was going on. I knew he was pretty much to the end of the road. And it was sad, and I was upset. But give guys money for food. He wasn't a drug addict. He wasn't an alcoholic. None of that stuff. How does Corey Feldman, who spent vacations or trips with this guy, and multitudes of times, this guy he calls a friend who's down on his luck. He doesn't have food, and he doesn't send him $20, $50, something. How is that a possibility? Could you even fathom having a friend of several decades, and the guy is almost on his gravesite, doesn't have food, and you don't send him money for food? Would you do that?
Yeah, he just dedicated his most recent album to him. And I didn't know that.
Listen,
yeah.
Of course he did. What does that cost him?
Yeah, right.
And there's an old saying, any PR is good PR. I hung with Majestic. I stayed at the house with Majestic and Joe Jackson off Sahara. I was there, man. I did these things with him. He was a friend. He was Corey's friend. But God forbid you put your hand in your pocket and give somebody something. Helping somebody out. He's never had people sleep on his couch. I'm sure there are plenty of people that said, hey, Corey, listen, I'm down on my luck. Could you put me on the couch for a couple of weeks? Oh, no, man, my house is full. Or, oh, no, I don't have time for that. Or, I'm just real busy and I don't have time to be watching somebody in my house. That's what he would say. I've had 50 people sleep on my couch throughout the years, in apartments, in houses, whatever.
Hey,
you extend the friend a hand. You extend the hand when you can help somebody.
He has no problems letting these Corey's Angels come stay at the house. What's going on with that?
Well, read the latest tweet and you'll figure it out. Dude, it's right there in black and white for you.
What tweet? Yours?
Oh, no, he sent a tweet this morning.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it's all about, the Lord. He wants to spread love, and whether it's 1 woman, 2 women, whatever it is, it's okay. Just spread love everywhere. It's all there. Have at it. And why does he let them stay there free? Because they're his band members. And supposedly, of course, the band left him, and he says, well, they were scared for their lives. No, they weren't scared for their lives. He owes them money.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be paying them for the band appearances. No, apparently nobody was getting paid, and they all left. And somewhere I read that in the past week or two that, they're putting together a lawsuit to sue him for the back wages that he owes them. Go figure.
I tell you, man, what a soap opera. This whole thing.
Exactly.
This whole thing. Scott, Schwartz, I can't thank you enough. Okay. And you got these 2 appearances coming up. People can go see Scott in person at WinterCon. It's in Jamaica, Queens at Resort World Casino. And also, too, at Steel City Comic-Con. That's in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. Scott, you got an open invitation, okay? If anything else comes up in this, you want to get some publicity, you want to talk about it, get a hold of me. I'll put you right on the air, okay?
Sounds good. You take care of yourself and have a happy holiday.
Thank you, Scott. And I will. I'm going to watch Christmas Story. Okay, I'm going to enjoy it more than I ever did before. I'll tell you, I really will. Thank you.